Welcome and thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing, and today is March 27th of 2020. So if it is a current video for you, in other words, if you're watching it in March, April, May of 2020, then you know what we're going through right now. And I decided to take a break from sewing masks, which I've kind of been doing non-stop for the last week, and make some pattern weights. And that is the true sound of of these guys. And what these are would be BBs. I'm using Crosman Copperhead. They are, well, I'll show you what they look like. This is it right here. Oop, going the wrong way. I started out with 6,000. I'm not counting as I put them into the pattern weights, but I'm about just a little less than halfway through the 6,000 count container. I'm also using a little teeny tiny bit of batting. So the way that works is I fill the I fill this with, I don't know, a palm-sized amount of BBs, and then I put some batting on top of that, and then I just tie this at the top. I'm not sewing anything, I'm just tying them, which is working really well. If you want to sew this, you would probably need to do it by hand. I chose to just use some iridescent ribbon that I had left over from a wedding. I have a lot of basic cabbage here that I'm using. I'm just using up small pieces of fabric, some little tiny bits of batting that I had left over, and the ribbon. So I made these three that I haven't filled yet, and I wanted to show you what they look like pre-filling. It is a triangle, and I'm just leaving the top open. So the way that this is constructed, I have two here. It is a pattern Simplicity 8532. And if you know me, if you're a dandelion, you completely understand that no matter what they write in their instructions, I'm always going to change a pattern. That's just the way it works. I don't even know what they tell you in this. I think you are actually supposed to finish the top and put like a loop at the top. If you look at the picture, that's what I'm seeing. But that's kind of fiddly for me, and I don't really need it. But I will tell you what the instructions say, so that if you wanted to do this, you could certainly do it. Let me find the instructions and we'll read what it says. Okay, this is the pattern piece right here. Alrighty, I sure hope everybody is doing okay in this very sad timeline. Okay, so finding the pattern weight or fabric weight, whichever you choose to call it. They're calling it a fabric weight in the pattern. So what we do, oh, okay, I see. So we're going to take the ribbon piece, which is going to be, I left the pattern over there. It looks like maybe about 2.5 inches. You could use 3, I think. Fold it over so you'd have 1.5 inches of ribbon on both sides. You're going to fold the ribbon for the hanger in half, and on the outside, so out here, you would pin it. And you would pin it at the top where you have the two little pattern marks there. Okay. So right along the very tippy top of that point, you're going to pin that little folded over piece of ribbon, and then you're going to baste it. Okay, and this is all you need to make one of these, by the way, just one piece of fabric. Then you're going to fold your pattern like this, and it appears that you are stitching all the way from the very point all the way down, and then you're going to fold it and do that again over here, and then you're going to bring this one up, but that would already be stitched, and you're going to start at the point and stitch to halfway down, leaving this open, and that is how you would turn this to the inside, and that is where you fill your pattern weight with whatever it is that you are filling your pattern weights with. I chose, they're calling for plastic beads. I absolutely, unequivocally refuse. I will not use plastic beads in a pattern weight. I find that, well, I just don't think I could do it. So, personally, these are very heavy. They're very stout, and if I were going to go on a picnic and it was a breezy day and I wanted to put a tablecloth on the picnic table, whether it's on my deck or at a park or something, this would be a great way to weight that down. Like I said, I mean, BBs aren't light, and they're not going to degrade, and they're not harmful to the environment, and they're not food like beans or rice, so I won't be attracting, you know, insects. It's just BBs that I can use over and over again. So in the event that this tears, or I need to repair it, or I don't like the color and I want to do a whole different color scheme, I just do a different color scheme and save my BBs. So now, the way I'm doing this is I have decided that I think I did one of these. On the bottom, I don't know if you can see, there are some stitching lines. I thought that was kind of cute. So when you fold the pattern to get that fold line, you're left with that center triangle. And I thought, how cute would that be to stitch? They don't suggest that you do that. The reason that that fold line is there is so that you will know where you're supposed to be folding these up to meet each other. So I am going to stitch this triangle because I like the way that looks. So when you fold those, go ahead and press them if you want to do this as well. I'm using white thread in my bobbin and this pretty blue in my thread, or my needle. So I'm going to do the blue, kind of a, gosh, it's almost a peacock blue on the outside of this kind of green fabric. And I just think that adds a little panache to something that would normally not have panache. I mean, I don't ever remember anybody ever saying anything about a pattern weight or fabric weight that had panache. So for my way, the way that I'm doing mine, I'm starting about here. So what is that? That's about, starting right there, 7/8 of an inch from the top of the point, and that's where I begin stitching on this side right here. Just make sure that your raw edge is lined up and give it a go. Now I do recommend that you use at least at least a 2.5 stitch length, because whatever you decide to use to fill your fabric weights with, you want that stitch length to be strong enough to hold that in there. If it's loose, you know, more like a basting stitch, you might lose some of the product that you put on the inside, or something can get in there. Let's say you chose to use rice. You could easily have an insect or even maybe a mouse, you know, pull that open. So at least a 2.5. If you wanted to go even tighter, not crazy tight, like maybe a 1.5 or 1.5, that would be a good idea. I'm doing a 2.5, and that seems to be holding the BBs quite well. Okay, here's the final, and as you can see, I have this and this stitched, and then I'm just going to stitch right along that last one in exactly the same way. I'm starting about 7/8 of an inch down from the top. Okay, and because I'm using a heavier product to fill, the BBs are heavier than rice or beans or anything else, it's not that important that I completely fill this whole thing with that product. You know, if I were using rice, I might have to fill the whole thing to get enough weight to hold my patterns or my fabric down. And I will link where I bought the BBs below. It was an Amazon purchase. I have seen them online. I think Walmart had them as I was shopping, and this was back, you know, probably about a month and a half ago when I bought that, maybe even longer than that. So, you know, there was not a shortage of anything like there is now. So my recommendation is that you just, you know, be patient, shop, you know, don't lose your patience. Things will get better. Okay, you just take this and match it up. All you're doing is just creating a triangle by matching up the top points. And like I said, for my version, I just approximate. I'm going, you know, 7/8 of an inch-ish down from the top where all of the top pieces are open. Okay, here's the third side, third and final side. We're just gonna drop that down 7/8 of an inch and zip on down. And as far as my stitch seam allowance is, I'm just using the side of my sewing foot there. That's all I'm doing is for my seam allowance. I don't know what the pattern calls for. Most crafts are, well, let's see, I think it's marked. It's 1/4 of an inch. Okay. All right, so now I'm taking a chopstick, just straight up chopstick, and I'm pushing this through the opening. So the way I'm doing that is I'm pulling all